How am ya? I'm Carl Metalhead. Welcome to my channel. You might remember about a year ago I bought my dream guitar from AliExpress. Well, the link to that video will be down below. A couple of months ago I bought a second Chibson, this time a Slash signature model Les Paul. I didn't originally order a Slash model. Unfortunately, the seller that I ordered from originally, I'd ordered a kind of a honeyburst finish. They didn't have that in stock. So they contacted me via WhatsApp. They sent me pictures of kind of 3 or 4 other models, and I picked this one. I wanted a Les Paul that would evoke kind of a Slash Appetite for Destruction era kind of Les Paul, but without something that overtly said Slash on it through any kind of logos or signatures. Unfortunately, when you're buying from AliExpress, you are buying kind of somewhat blind. Obviously, this is a forgery. So for copyright reasons, typically the pictures they send you won't include the headstock because of the Gibson logo. That said, in time, I'll find a sticker to cover that up, so it's not the end of the world. I'm not hugely kind of upset. I'm not a great guitarist, so I said to myself a long time ago that rather than have a couple of really nice kind of expensive guitars that I just wouldn't be able to feel like I could play well enough to justify the cost, as a gigging musician, I'd rather have a bunch of cheaper guitars that I could take out kind of gig. They're going to get bumped and bashed, and without kind of having to worry about them getting stolen or anything like that. So I bought this with the intention of doing some modifications to it, which is just as well because there are a couple of issues with it. So first of all, let's have a quick playthrough, see how it sounds. So yeah, sounds like a Les Paul. I'm happy with that. That's the neck pickup. And unfortunately, this is where things start coming unstuck a little bit. So the bridge pickup works intermittently. When it first arrived, it didn't work at all. In the couple of months I've had it and it's kind of sat there, sometimes it'll work, albeit with a lot of noise. There's currently no noise gate on this, so you can hear a little bit of hum. So say sometimes it just doesn't work at all. Sometimes it does work, albeit with a lot of noise, as I say. At the moment, it's very, very faint. Now, not the end of the world, because I have bought it with the intention of modifying the guitar. So what are we going to do to it? First of all, I don't really like the tuners that came with it. They've got this kind of, I suppose, almost like a vintage kind of green colour to them. I'm purely going to change those really because they're an aesthetic thing. I've got some locking tuners, which I figured if I'm going to change them, I might as well give them a purpose for changing them. So I bought some locking tuners, which will be the first time I've had a guitar with locking tuners on. Going to give it a fret level kind of polish. Obviously, completely rewire it. I've bought a wiring harness for that. I've bought a brand new bridge pickup from Tone Rider. And then I've got some new knobs to go on it. The Gibson guitar that this is a copy of is a $3 guitar. I don't remember how much I paid for this, but I'll put all the prices and everything on screen as we go through the video. So let's take it downstairs and let's start working on it. So the first thing I wanted to do is take off those ugly green machine heads and fit the locking tuners that I bought from Geico. All these parts I've bought myself with my own money. I'm not affiliated to any of these companies in any way whatsoever. So unfortunately, the one thing that I was dreading was that the parts I bought weren't going to fit into the existing holes in the guitar, meaning I'd have to drill them out. Unfortunately, I didn't have a drill bit to fit. The one I got was just probably a millimetre or two, just too small. So what I ended up doing was wiggling the drill bit around a little bit to make the holes a little bit bigger so the ferrules can fit. Not ideal, but we make do with what we've got. So eventually I managed to get the ferrules in with a little bit of gentle coaxing from a brass hammer, and then from there it was plain sailing. It was just a case of screwing them in place. The wiring harness I bought came from a company called Home of Tone, which as it turns out are local to me. just up the road in Stourbridge, so I was really pleased to be able to support a local business. I bought a pre-wired guitar wiring harness, 50s style wiring with long shafts for a Gibson Les Paul, and I bought that with a pure tone jack socket as well. Unfortunately, with the wiring harness I had the same problem as the machine heads, in that I needed to drill out the holes. They weren't quite big enough for the shafts and the pots to go through. So again, didn't have a drill bit big enough, so I needed to improvise and wiggle the bit around a little bit to make the holes big enough to fit. The humbucker that I've bought is from an English company called Tone Rider. They're based in Kent, and I bought the generator, which is a high output Alnico 5 pickup. This was my first time doing any kind of modifications to a guitar, which is why I bought the wiring harness rather than wiring the guitar from scratch. And I'm not too ashamed to admit that I didn't quite get it right first time. I hadn't grounded it properly, so I needed to go back and solder it all again. The soldering isn't pretty, but it works. It's easy on YouTube with the power of video editing to pass yourself off as an expert and say that you got it right first time. I had a search on YouTube, found a tutorial video on how to install a wiring harness. Shout out to the YouTube channel 6 String Supplies. When you're doing something for the first time, you're not always going to get it right, and that can be really deflating. I was tempted to take the guitar to a technician and get them to wire it for me, but as I say, I scoured YouTube, found a tutorial video, went back, realised the mistake I'd made and rectified it, and I have to say overall this was a really great learning experience. The last thing, once I got it all wired up and working, was to put the replacement knobs on and then string it up and give it a basic setup. I've used a set of Ernie Ball regular slinkies, which I think are 10 to 46, which from what I've searched online is what Slash plays. Right, we're back in the studio having completed the modifications. Overall, I'm really happy with this. In total, it's cost me £384. That's £224 for the guitar itself, and then £160 for the parts I've bought, not including all the tools, but that's an ongoing thing I can use to work on my other guitars. Really happy with the locking tuners. It wasn't until I got these new ones on that I realised just how much I disliked that vintage green colour on the old ones. The ivory on these really matches the aesthetic of the guitar and just looks right in my opinion. They're really nice and smooth, and I'll most likely be fitting locking tuners to some of my other guitars now. In addition to that, we've taken off the poker chip, which really tidied up the guitar, made it look a lot neater. I've fitted the golden knobs, and the big one obviously is the 50s style wiring and the new pickup. I was a little bit concerned that there'd be a difference in volume between the two pickups, given that one of them is a Chinese pickup, but sounds good. Pulling back the curtain a little bit, I filmed this segment twice because the first time I've uploaded the clip to YouTube, I got a copyright strike for the riffs I was playing. So I've already had a chance to kind of listen with the guitar and play it, and can say I'm very happy with it. So yeah, let's have a quick demo of how it sounds. So that's it for this video. I hope you found it interesting. Please do consider subscribing. The next project I have up on my workbench is this Parker Fly kit guitar that I'm going to be putting together, and that video is going to be coming up in the next couple of months. Until then, I'll see you in the next video.